What is up, everybody? It's your boy, just drinking, and I'm joined by Mr. David Wise. Dave, tell people what we were talking about today.
Drake, we're going to diagnose NC State. Got a lot of fun thoughts on that, like I'm sure everyone else does. We also got to dive into the sad news of Chubba Purdy. We've been the Chubba Purdy hive, and that era is over. And if we have time, we're going to tease some FFM.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Miami Hate Week here on Locked On Seminoles, and you know what? I'm going to hold back thunder anymore. Let's get right to it.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back to another edition of Locked On Seminoles. I'm your host, Drake, and today, as I said earlier, I am joined by Mr. David Wise. Davey, what's up, beautiful? What's going on, man?
You know, Drake, we were riding high for a minute there, and now I'm just depressed about football again. I need this year to end. Let's get on with it.
Yeah, I think 2021 has been kind of a dud in all facets of the game, whether it be sports, society, personal. It's been a rough go of it, but no, we are here to jumpstart it up because it is Miami Hate Week. But before we can turn the page and get ready for the festivities, we need to talk a little bit about the NC State game. Now, I didn't watch the NC State game live. I actually was in the Bahamas with Max for a friend of ours' bachelor party with Cam. Love you, my guy. Can't wait till the wedding next month. And I watched it when I got back yesterday. And by that, I mean I fell asleep at 6:30, woke up at 4:30 in the morning, and proceeded to watch the game, later today. And the game was a tale of two halves, primarily because I don't think I've ever seen our offense be as poor as the one I saw actually in the first half. Can you agree, Dave?
Yeah, first half was, God, let me find the words. Impotent, sterile, benign, harmless. Good God. I don't want to get mean here, but that was the worst offensive half of football I can remember seeing a Florida State team have, including the Willie Taggart era.
I think that game on Saturday just showed how important Jordan Travis is, not only to the offense, but I guess to this team in general. Could you agree? Or do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't exactly been the biggest Jordan Travis supporter of anybody out there, but I think at this point it's pretty obvious when he's not out there, we're a worse football team. He is clearly the best amongst what I would call a group of bad options at this point. I can't wait for some competition to get in here, like AJ Duffy. But right now, Jordan Travis, he's the best chance we have to play winning football. Clearly, the run game suffers when he's not in. And because the run game suffers, the pass game suffers. So our entire offense suffers.
And I think also the entire team does too, because Jordan, I mean, we saw with the UNC game, we have the picture for the YouTube thumbnail that we might use for this actual episode where, he has the brightest smile when, he's playing well, he's going out there. He just brings, a very contagious, infectious attitude towards the game where if he's not on the side, I don't think he was on the sideline because apparently he was put aside because he was very sick because, the Halloween flu was spreading around. And trust me, folks, that's not a good thing because I had that my freshman year, and it's the only way I was able to lose most of the weight when I got there. I didn't have no freshman 15. I had the freshman negative 15 when I got that. Trust me, believe me. But it showed also that, not only how important he was, but also that our quarterback room is in a very, very bad disarray. I mean, we'll discuss Chubba Purdy in the next segment, but as much as you and I, championed, Mackenzie Milton and how much we wanted him to start him to play, 2021 Mackenzie Milton not only I think limits your offense, I think it stunts it as well. I mean, the first half of play that we saw from him was just really, really poor. The second half, he was a lot more solid. He had a lot more time, but towards the end of the game, you just saw he was taking unnecessary sacks. He was missing open throws where we thought that he'd be able to do, and the throws that he kind of, was known for making, he put him in the spots where it should be anticipatory for the wide receivers. Our wide receivers aren't good enough to do that, and that's what led to the first pick he threw. So it just showed how limited I think the rest of our options are at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to make excuses for him, but to be fair, wow, our receiver room. I'm going to limit it to that because I don't want to talk bad about teenage kids, but wow, our receiver room, holy hell. Um, when you don't have to worry about an opposing team's receivers getting behind you, and you don't have to worry about the quarterback being able to push the ball downfield, you can really key in on the run. And when you don't have to worry about the quarterback running too, I've basically just limited all the options on offense to basically, can you run the ball? Well, when they know we're going to try to do it, no, you really can't run the ball, especially against a decent run defense like NC State. And even the short passing game, just Mackenzie Milton was kind of erratic on a lot of even short throws. When he did put it on the receivers, it was behind them, and the receivers would drop a bunch of them. They weren't getting to good spots on the field. They weren't running good routes. My God, just everything went wrong from an offensive perspective that could have gone wrong. And Jordan Travis clearly covers up a lot of the deficiencies on this team.
Before we go over to defense, do you have anything else to add for the offense?
Just, my God, fast forward to 2022. Come on, Kevin Coleman. Come on, baby.
Yeah, we're not getting Kevin Coleman, folks. But if we did, it'd be great if we can take him over on Prize Picks. Folks, Prize Picks is the one-stop shop for all your fantasy props and odds. Now, I'm a big fan of it, to be perfectly honest with you. I love making picks, whether I'm more of a baseball guy. So in the World Series, I had Max Fried over a certain amount of strikeouts. I also had Dansby Swanson over a certain amount of hits. And I also had a little bit of action to Jorge Soler for over under half a home run. And trust me, folks, that cashed in Game 6. Even though I'm not a Braves fan, I was fine with, taking them and making a little bit of money. So head on over to prizepicks.com and use promo code LOCKED ON. That's LOCKEDON. Or download on your phone, and they will match up to 100% on your first deposit. Once again, folks, that promo code is locked on, LOCKEDON. Prize Picks, where daily fantasy is made easy. I love it. Max loves it. Dave loves it. And of course, Holland takes love as well, so I know you will too. Now I feel like this segment right here is going to be a tale of two segments, kind of like the game was tale of two halves. I want to talk a little bit more about the defense, and then talk about the elephant in the room, kind of with Chubba Purdy, going out. Is that okay with you, Dave?
Yeah, let's get it.
So with the defense, I was going to be under the impression that the defense would not do very well against a Devin Leary, who's probably one of the more under the radar QBs actually in the entire country. I think he's the only QB with 20 plus TDs and only 2 interceptions heading into the game. So our defense actually kind of handled them pretty well. Our run defense, I think, limited NC State to less than 3 yards per carry, and Bam Knight and Ricky Person Jr. are very good running backs. So I think my issue, with the defense was with one particular position group, and that was the secondary. The secondary, primarily to me, left a lot to be desired, and I think there's one play in particular where it leads up to one of the touchdowns where Jarquez McClellan doesn't attack the ball, and we saw that similarly with Travis Jay against the Notre Dame game. So I don't know whether it's something that's being taught or it's fundamentals or technique. I think the DB room is still something that, in my opinion, is kind of slowly coming down to the linebacking poor level.
Yeah, man, it's really sad because the name syndrome thing we joke about, we talk about, but it's really a real thing. I mean, we're still loaded with 4-star blue chip kids in this secondary. And aside from a couple kids who've stood out in like specific areas like Jarvis Brownlee and run defense, holy hell, you don't want to see him come into the box.
No, man. No.
Like Kevin Knowles as a nickel corner. I mean, he's been great, but aside from the two of them, who the hell in this secondary are you worried about, and who do you trust? Really tough to find any names there.
It is hard. I mean, if I'm an opposing offensive coordinator, I look at the depth chart. It's like, okay, who is starting? Okay, is Jerry and Jones starting? Okay, I'm going to go after him, even though he did improve the past, I think the 2 games before the bye. Clemson, he didn't perform particularly well, and then also against this past game, that long touchdown, the touchdown, the first touchdown of the game was set up by a long touchdown pass where he just got absolutely burned. But also in his defense, it was a perfectly thrown ball by Devin Leary. And then you have on the other side, Travis Jay, who, if you notice, he's not even on the 2 deep right now for the depth chart for Miami, which is a startling development for someone that we had high hopes for and also had everyone's name on their tongue during spring and fall practices.
Yeah. Let's get into the elephant in the room. We've said this before, but this was the worst of the year. Tackling, man. Tackling. Fundamental football. What the hell were Jerry Jones and Akeem Dent thinking on a couple of those plays? Because
Mhm.
a couple times it looked like they didn't, not only did they not take the right angle, it looked like they just didn't know where to go. Not that they physically couldn't, they just
Mhm.
didn't know.
I agree with that because, like, I don't think it was an effort thing. And some people I looked on Twitter, like, during the game, like, oh no, what is this effort? We're like, we don't care. And I watched the game, I was like, I don't think it's that they don't care. In fact, if you see throughout the game, they're hustling, they're bustling, they're trying to do everything they can. And it looks primarily just that they take the wrong angle, or like you said, they have no idea how to respond. I think on the screen. So I got the notification that they scored on the screen pass for I think the 28th point for their last touch in the game. I go to Max at the table. I'm like, hey, why the hell do we every time someone scores, it's always on a damn screen pass for 60 yards? And he's like, I don't know, man. We got to figure something out. And I saw it, and I was like, okay, so we have a missed tackle by Jaron Jones, like in the open field, where he just got in his defense, he got broken. Like that man got shook out of his shoes. And then with Akeem Dent, he has the angle, but then he like goes forward and gets sucked into the blocker, and then person just cuts in for the touchdown. So it's like it seems to me a lot of it's something that's being taught, and I don't know whether, because I know a lot of kids were sick for the entire week. So probably part of that is like leaves a lot of, practices were, I know, a lot more emptier. A lot of people didn't participate till later on in the week. So maybe they didn't have all the practice and game reps. But it seems like it's somewhat something that's like being taught or it's just not sticking with these kids. And that's kind of like, where we're at this point.
Well, it seems like that because it's not just one or two kids. It's pretty much everybody besides in the secondary, at least, besides like Jarvis Brownlee, maybe like I said, Kevin Knowles,
Jamie Robinson, even the
Jamie.
even the freshman, I think Amarion Cooper actually had a better game than most people thought. And like as a freshman, I think that's his first big game action. He did pretty well too.
Right. It's funny because you get down from the secondary and you saw some stereotypically good games. Jermaine Johnson had a hell of a grade in that game. Run defense, solid as usual. Keir Thomas named ACC Player of the Week, Defensive Player of the Week, or right?
Yeah,
Or,
he owned Ike Ikwonu, the left tackle,
yeah.
who is going to be a first round pick, and so that game made him a lot of money. And even after the game, he's like, "I don't care, I hate losing," which we all do. And it was just it sucks primarily because like I think more like I don't want to say the game was frustrating because I think frustrating leads me to believe that we had a chance to win. This game was just more like if we had different personnel, and I mean, like, if Jordan Travis was in the game, if, like, we were able to keep the offense on the field a little bit longer, stop being super exhausted, like, we could have easily won this game, but it's like, it just sucks, man. I mean, there's no other way really to put it.
Yeah, the funniest part of all this is our highest graded player was Steven Dix. Our third highest graded player was DJ Lundy. Two of our three are
Mhm.
linebackers. If you'd
Mhm.
have told me that before the game,
How
I
many
would
snaps, though?
have. Dix had 7, Lundy had 33, so 40 between them. That's still pretty. Look, anytime one of our linebackers is grading top of the team, I'm going to be
Mhm.
happy. I don't give a shit who it is or what the situation. We just need to see more of that. But I didn't end that game thinking, wow, our defense blew it. Like on a play to play basis, NC State didn't really move the ball all that well on either side. For all the good things you said about their quarterback, he didn't impress me against our defense.
I think they had, like, what, 34 carries for rushing yards, and, like I said, they only averaged, like, a little under 3 yards a carry. And the play calling was extremely interesting because Devin Leary was taking deep shots on our corners, and that's where they got most of their points instead of most of their touchdowns. So it's like it was interesting to see them go away from that game plan.
Yeah, it's funny. So they had 37 carries for 86 yards. That's a little over 2 yards a carry. You look at Devin Leary's stats though: 21 for 32, 314 yards, and 4 touchdowns. You can't end that game. He was good, but you can't end the game and tell me if you were to end that game and I were to say, tell me what his stats were. You sure as shit would not say he had over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah. So maybe I mean, but he still finished at a 66% clip, and he's still like we're still really efficient. But I guess yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm not. That is kind of surprising. Now, as you can tell, I'm a little bit of a loss for words right here. But I think just overall, like people were pointing fingers at the defense. Trust me, I'm the first person to lay blame at Adams Fuller's doorstep. Trust me, believe. I am the conductor of that train. I got the hat on, I got the little bell and the whistle thing at the front of the damn thing, but you can't blame the defense for that. I think you learned two things from this game. That the defense is good enough to keep you in football games, especially competitively. And also, like Max asked me this question actually in the Bahamas. Is Jordan Travis like one of is Jordan Travis your third most important player like on the team as a whole? And to me, after this game, I think he's number one. I think he's legitimately your most important player because he's able to keep the offense humming, keep the offense moving, thus letting your defensive strongest players like Keir Thomas and Jermaine Johnson rest a little bit. So I think this game just showed how important he is to making this entire thing click, whether we like it or not. It's not sexy, but it's still able to keep us competitive in the games.
The thing for the defense is they're put in some spots that an already struggling defense that's looking to find its identity and has been making progress throughout the season. Our offense is going for some ridiculous fourth downs on our own side of the field. Whether you agree with it or not, I don't agree with it. It put the defense in a really bad spot. It was a one-score game with 8 minutes left. We had 3 timeouts. We could have punted deep. And then at the end of the game, we're not accepting penalties when we could have backed them up right on their goal line, and the defense could have really pinned their ears back and put them in a good, advantageous spot. But we didn't. So just some things that are making it more difficult for us to play defense when sometimes it already feels difficult for us to play defense. It's hard to pin everything or a lot of things this year on this defense, which at this point I think is playing better than the offense.
So I'm gonna give you my thoughts on that, but real quickly, folks, let me tell you a little bit more about Built Bars. Heading over to BuiltBar.com, they have 19 delicious flavors. You'll typically get them, with a new limited flavor every 3 to 4 days. Heading over to Built.com, use Locked15 is the promo code Locked15. That's LOCKED15 to get 15% off your first order. And once again, is Locked15 LOCKED15. Stock up on the Cherry Barcia. Salted caramel like Dave's likes, or as Max is not here, but I'll let you guys know anyway, peanut butter brownie is his favorite. Locked15 for 15% off at built.com. So yeah, I mean, to wrap up the game and just wrap up that entire storybook on NC State. I get why people hate the call. I personally am a little more in that camp as well, primarily because your defense has been playing very well. I saw the statistic that the Nolecast dropped, folks that you discussed it actually on their instant reaction. I saw the difference between, going forward and punting was like a 1 to 2% increase of winning. And I know that they have their statistics that, actually take into account personnel and everything. But to me, it's also like your offense has been very anemic for most of the day. I don't know if the stats and models actually take that into account for actually the game that was going on. So I personally would have done it. But in his defense, they did start at the 1 and they were moving the ball. So maybe that's the one time your offense is going really, really hot. So maybe that's kind of dictates their thinking. And then the holding call with 1st and 20. I mean, you either get 1st and 20 or 2nd and 6. I don't think if you try to run the ball up at 1st and 20, I think they know you're going to run the ball. So maybe you start to go get a 2nd and 13, 2nd and 15. So I don't hate that much at all. But I'm in agreement with you where I don't think going forward was the right move with how the defense was playing. I understand why some people do it. Like to me, it's very negligible, but that's not the reason I think primarily why we lost the game.
No, it's not why we lost, but sometimes common sense can prevail over just math. It's not always about math.
No, I know, but sometimes, you got to go with the numbers, and that's one of the things about football. It's like you have to go with your numbers and in addition with your gut, and like that's not why we lost the game, but I get both sides of it. But like I said, like I'm on the camp that I think your defense was doing it well enough for you to be like, hey, we can stop them a little bit. You punt from the 40, maybe you pin them down inside their 5. Maybe you do a little more magic because like that's what happened with Clemson the week before. But let's close the book on that and discuss primarily why Mackenzie Milton was starting that day. As most of you know, we haven't discussed this yet on this podcast, that Chubba Purdy actually has transferred from the program. And boy, Dave, we have been Chubba Hive, CP12 for a long, long time. And this really, really sucks to say. It's kind of ironic how literally it's only me and you, and we're talking about Mackenzie Milton and Chubba today. Actually, I think it's kind of funny.
Yeah, it makes sense. We've been Chubba's probably biggest supporters around the beat. I've been banging that drum for a year now. It's an unfortunate waste of talent. The whole thing seems like it was mishandled by the coaching staff. It's inexplicable that he wasn't given some opportunities this year when it would have made sense for him to, if not start a game, and if not, play an entire series, at least get him in packages, at least make him know that he's going to get some playing time. In the transfer portal age, it's unfortunate, but you have to do that. And not just that, but he also has looked super talented and a lot better than last year. We talked about, you know, what was it? Who the hell did we play that he played that couple series?
But UMass?
Yeah, we against UMass, man. Like his arm just looked different. He looked better. He looked confident. He went 5 of 5. I mean, clearly the talent was there. His arm looked different than last year in a way that last year people were curious about what we had recruited. I think he'd answer those questions in the limited time we saw him this year. He should have seen the field. He didn't, and now he's gone.
So I have a theory about this, and by me, I'm going to say the Max's theory. Max actually kind of hit the nail right on the head. So kudos to the homie for actually getting it almost, I think, from what I'm hearing too. So he was talking to some people, and apparently Chubba found out that Mackenzie Monks was going to start the game if Jordan Travis, was not ready in time for the NC State game. So I did a little bit of digging. So Chubbo actually was informed, like I want to say after the Clemson game, that hey, if Jordan isn't good to go, you're going to get the majority of the game reps. I don't know if whether he was told he was starting or if it was that told, but that's something along those lines. And then apparently later in the week, he was told, hey, sorry, but by the way, if Jordan can't go, we're actually going to give Casey majority of the game reps. And that's kind of, I think, where, the straw broke camel's back, because there's apparently, if you noticed on the over the past in his his transfer post, he thanked everybody but the coaching staff. And apparently there's been a lot of issues between him and them, whether it be his injury from this fall practice last year, his injury again in the spring, and then also that apparently the family was not happy with the selection of doctors they, assigned or selected for his surgery, because, remember, he got the surgery, he got infected,
Yeah.
had to get cleaned again, and then he went over to Arizona for, I think, 3 to 4 months, and then came back. I think he had his own surgery over there. I'm not 100% sure. So at that point, I think that was the straw that brought the camel's back. And then you see today where, like, in the press conference, Norvell was like, he said after speaking with his own family, Chubba was out. So to me, this is not only primarily the kid's decision, but it's also something that he discussed at length with his family. And if his family's involved, that's something to me that's been brewing for a very long time.
Yeah, I'm almost over what caused it. The fact is, our quarterback room just got significantly worse and thinner. And it was already a thin quarterback room, largely filled with unknowns. We can say all day, can't wait till Duffy gets here, and I can't wait till he gets here. But I don't expect a true freshman to come in and be the solution for all of our problems. Even Jameis wasn't a true freshman when he came in and solved all our problems. And Duffy won't have the same team around him that Jameis had. So, look, reasons aside, after watching that NC State game, even during the game, I couldn't help but think to myself, wow, it would really help to have a stronger arm like Chubba Purdy in here. Would he have made more mistakes in the game than KZ did? Yeah, probably. But would he have been able to push the ball down the field in a way that we weren't? Definitely.
Yeah, and that also, it goes to show also me too that this transfer of Chubba Purdy, it's something that probably definitely came out supremely left field, and something that Norvell definitely he knew he kind of messed up on, because if he knows his reaction to this in juxtaposition with the reaction to DJ Matthews transferring last year, like when DJ Matthews transferred last year, he kind of
happy.
I'm not gonna say happy, but I'm not gonna say happy, but he looked a little more like, oh, he's gone. Okay, I think I know he had a little bit of smirk at the end after that question was asked, but that's neither here nor there. But with the Purdy one, he was like, I was shocked that, like the entire team was blindsided, like kind of like along those lines, where it seems to me that he kind of knows that he dropped the ball a little bit with that, and unfortunately now he's got to figure something out, whether it be help in the transfer portal. It's not going to be AJ Duffy, because hopefully he keeps him, but like you said, AJ Duffy is not going to be ready to start year one. I know, folks, you want to hear that, but one, his footwork isn't particularly that great. Two, he has a finger injury supposedly, which caused him to leave IMG and get ready for December enrollment. But to me, that's just something that we definitely need to see moving forward. And I hope he has an answer for this. I mean, he's the man with the plan, with plan A, B, C, D. You know my opinion on that, but he definitely has, like, contingencies in place. So hopefully he's able to muster either a transfer QB or maybe another high school option. I doubt that, but we'll see.
Yeah, and look, Jordan Travis, again, we said it before the season, the kid puts his body on the line. He's probably going to miss time for injuries whenever he's the starting quarterback. And right now our backups are Mackenzie Milton, who obviously is not mobile and his arm strength is super limited, and Tate Rodmaker. We have nothing behind
Hey.
it. Geno English, whatever, I don't care.
I like Geno English.
I know.
Bro. That dude's TikToks are hilarious.
Drake, I'm talking about a football team and trying to win here, okay? I don't want to throw a true freshman. It's not even about Duffy to me. I don't want to cause another James Blackman here. I don't want to do that to AJ Duffy, throwing him into the fire with a bad team around him when he's a first-year kid. And if Jordan Travis goes down with an injury next year, is it Tate Rodemaker? I mean, he better hit the transfer portal. He better hit the nail on the head with this one, because we're going to be in aggravating shape next year where people are going to wonder whether we're going to get to 6 wins again if we can't get the most important position on the field sorted out.
No, I mean, I agree with that, but I do believe that I think Jordan has progressed enough that if we, keep, certain players, and I know you're not a big fan of the offensive coordinator right now, but one of the big things is that since Dillingham has an affinity for him, he's done a lot of work primarily with Jordan Travis to improve his passing. And if that continues to improve, maybe we have a suitable enough start to maybe win 8 games next year. I know I'm saying maybe win 8, but right now, if as a team, that's kind of a high ceiling for next year. If we're being completely honest, I think next year our goal should be 6 wins. I know that sucks to say, but that's just the state of affairs right now in Tallahassee, and that's what happens with the rebuild. But folks, that's all our time for today. We're hit the 30-minute mark, so thank you all so much for love and support. Thank you so much for listening. Please, if you can, don't forget to rate, review, like, share, or subscribe either on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast from. And also, the boys are on YouTube now, so please hit the little thumbs up button on the video, hit the subscribe little banner, and then hit the little bell, ding it, so whenever we drop new videos, new content like this one, our new Triple Ds is back soon this week as FSU basketball takes on Penn on Wednesday and University of Florida also on Sunday. So we'll be back with new content. But as always, thank you so much for love and support. Thank you for listening. For Drake, that was David. We'll see you next time. I'm Locked On Seminoles, baby. Take care.
You, Miami.
Miami.